Marvel Stadium last night. Are the Blues back? They're absolutely fantastic. And Motlop, 15 minutes before the game, wasn't playing. Didn't even realise he was playing. He got the call, but what a start. He should do this more often.
Let's get to the bottom of this, of what's happened at Carlton. So outstanding. The ball came in quick, fast. Mackay went off, didn't matter. Silvani was bringing it to ground. He was huge with 4 goals. Curnow just fought and scrapped and brought it to the feet of Motlop, who kicked his 4 goals. But what a turnaround it's been for this football club. Didn't look like winning a game, and now they've obliterated 4 teams 4 weeks in a row. It's been a dramatic change. The midfield's dominated and got on top, Kane, but I'm interested in your views of where it's all started.
Well, now they're scoring, like 32 shots they had from 59 entries, and we were all talking about how they couldn't score for a 6-week period through the year. And what I noticed yesterday was their ability to get deep entries. So look where they're launching the ball from, and look at the one-on-one opportunities that gives you. It doesn't allow Aaliyah to get back. So watch where the entries are being launched from. So it's between 65 and 70. You get genuine one-on-ones, and the soft drop of the ball that Curnow and their forwards were able to provide for these crummers. They kick 6 goals straight from snaps. Once again, Curnow, deep entry, one-on-one. And it wasn't Mackay and Curnow doing the aerial damage. It was Silvani, it was Martin, it was Motlop at ground level. So once again, soft drop. Look how smart that is from Curnow, just to drop the ball right there. Stevie J would have loved that. Motlop kicked 4 in the first half. Once again, deep entry, get it to a one-on-one, really strong contest, and they kicked a lot of goals at ground level. And it wasn't Mackay who got injured early. It wasn't Curnow. It was their smalls that did a lot of the damage yesterday.
Earlier in the year, they were just bombing it on top of heads, but the ball movement was that slow that it was making it easy for the opposition. But now the run and carry is there, and their pressure is elite. They've proven they can beat anybody after beating Port Adelaide yesterday. This is their run home. Talking about can they make it. So at the moment, they're 2 points out of the 8 behind the Bombers, and they've got a game that they should win well next week, and then a tricky month before finishing with the Giants. But it's there for them to do, Damon.
Yeah, it is, Lotto. And it's been a selfless element to what they've been able to do in the past month, and Harry Mackay's been a crucial part of that. And went down early in this game yesterday with a knee injury that required him to be subbed out. And this morning, the club is yet to reveal the contents of the scans that he has been sent away for. Obviously, we hope it's not serious, and the club's early indications last night via Michael Voss's words were that it wasn't serious. But as always, we just need to wait for the official diagnosis, because it's a major concern if he's not going to be part of what's left.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. It was only 4 weeks ago the Blues looked dead and buried, but they are back, and they're back in a big way, beating Port Adelaide, who had won 13 games on the trot.
Terrific performance. It really was in all facets. Like, they've always been really strong from stoppage, so they've got that weapon back in the last 4 weeks, but their ability to pressure, turn the footy over and go back and score was something that I was really impressed with. So Silvani and Motlop, 8 between them, what a bonus. We know Port Adelaide's depth was challenged, and all year I've questioned whether the depth has been there, and that was highlighted yesterday with the lesser lights that were forced to come in and play. But I think the story is all about Carlton. And to Lordo's question a little bit earlier on in the program, it's like, where's this been? So credit to them, big tick for not letting the season wilt away, and there would be significant pressure on the coach if that happens. So they've dug in and they've fought, they've got themselves back into it. But when they play footy like this, you go, where was it for the first bit of the year? Because when they're in this sort of mood, they beat anyone.
You'd love to know what went on the week of and what they were building towards, because I think Vossi's just been big on that pressure and bringing the pressure, and this allows for your attack and your defence to pick up. But I don't think their backline's amazing, but their midfield is going so well that it's brought Wiedering into the game. Like, Wiedering's had a brilliant month as well, because I think the balls, there's so much more pressure further afield that he's back to his absolute best as well.
When it's an even spread and they don't rely on Cripps to get 40 disposals, they don't rely on Curnow to kick 6, when it is an even spread, Carlton are a pretty good football team.
They are, and one man, Jack Silvani, played arguably his best ever career game yesterday. Kicked 4 goals. He started well. He kicked the first 2 goals of the game, and that just builds your confidence, but you know what you're going to get from him. And he's been dropped a couple of times, and I've understood why he's been dropped, because he looks slow at times and they haven't found the right role for him. But I think this is his spot. Just that third tall forward.
How much of this was covering for Mackay, who was subbed out though, Lotto? The forward role he played.
Well, he kicked his first 2 when Mackay was still there, and just continued.
He looked good. So technically, before Mackay was injured, they said whoever Aaliyah goes to, we're going to send him up the ground. So they wanted to get Aaliyah outside of defensive 50. Then Mackay got injured, and Aaliyah rolled over to Curnow. That was a terrific matchup. I thought it was enthralling, but you're right. Silvani was able to get get a matchup that he liked because Mackay and Curnow were taking a lot of the focus from Port Adelaide.
It's all been Rosie and Butters this year. Rosie was very good again, but it's Dan Houston. His last 6 weeks, I thought he was the best player for Port Adelaide yesterday. 41 disposals and just the whole game, he was brilliant. 82% by foot, so played a little bit through the midfield, some off half back. But I mean, we talk about all Australians at this time of the year. 6 weeks ago, he probably wasn't in the conversation, but right now, just putting a big sign up that he is ready to take the next step, and he has this year, Kane.
He doesn't have a weakness in his game, so he really is sort of the complete play. Very versatile, can play wing on ball, but they've settled him across half back. So career high 41 touches for him as we look at the votes, and clearly he will feature in the votes. Thought he was Port Adelaide's best. Cripps was outstanding, so I just want to speak about Patrick Cripps just briefly. 24, so not big numbers in terms of disposal, but maximum influence. 10 clearances, 11 score involvements, and a couple of tackles that he laid in the middle of the ground. Outstanding. He's got his power back. Silvani and Newman across half-back was terrific.
Yeah, nice work, Kane. Collingwood put the pedal down in the second quarter at the MCG yesterday. They banged on 10 goals. It was a blitz. They were outstanding. The premiership favourites for a reason. Elliott again kicked 4. We spoke about him earlier on in the program. Nick Dacos, potentially another 3 votes. His brother was fantastic as well. O'Meara, Brayshaw, he's had a nice run of form. But Fremantle, they're not the side they were last year. Collingwood, that second quarter was just outstanding as we get into the highlights. And we spoke earlier on in the program about, is it their premiership to lose at the moment? I mean, they've got that ability to do this, what they did in the second quarter, and put the foot down and put 10 goals. All of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, the game is over. Melbourne were able to do that in their premiership year. Geelong were able to do it last year, and now it is Collingwood.
They've got depth. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and they execute every single week. They've got players with highly levelled skill, but also the contest work that they have around the middle of the ground means that they just turn up every single week, Kane.
You know what I love? Braden Maynard after the game. Now, some people don't like to say those sort of things, but he said for Port Adelaide to bring their A game next week. And I love that from Braden Maynard because he's the sort of player that he's going to bring his A game and do everything possibly he can.
I liked it as well. He was asked after the game. He was respectful in the way that he said it. He said, we're on top of the ladder for a reason. They'd want to bring their A game. It's going to be a good game, but one that you would think Collingwood would have the advantage in next week. Let's talk about Taylor Adams because I know he's a fan of you're a big fan of his, Brownie, because he just plays whatever role he's asked. Can clearly go inside and impact physically, but has gone forward as well. And this is the extra strength to his game this year. So we know he can do that.
It's not his natural game, is it, though? The players are forward,
no,
is it?
well, it's not, but he's doing it incredibly well, and he's been able to score. So he kicked another 2 yesterday. His second quarter, he had 10 touches. It was a part of the onslaught where they kicked 10 goals to 2. And yeah, I mean, him and Tom Mitchell, can they play together? Mitchell was a sub. I think that was part of management. We'll ask him about that when he joins us for the handball. Pendlebury subbed out. So now they've got the luxury of being able to manage the group home.
Yeah, there's no one at Fremantle that would have worried Darcy Moore going into the game. That's the worry for them. I know Amos is coming on and Luke Jackson is trying to find as a forward, but when there's no one that would scare you, Darcy Moore is just at his absolute best. You look at here, he's just doing it with ease and just mopping up absolutely everything. Same with Harris Andrews. He's that good, Harris, that, Tracy, saw him on Tracy there. He's not going to scare you. So this time it's Walters or Jackson running under the footy. So he's a superstar, this guy. I know he might have the odd one kicked on him, but you take that because he's just so damaging across half-back.
Nick Dacos, another 3 votes last night, 36 disposals. So probably 9, 10, maybe even 11 votes clear at the moment, but they don't tag him. You go back to round 2 against Port Adelaide. They tried to tag him with Jones at the start of the game. Adelaide put a little bit of time into him over there when they played them, but outside that, he's run his own race.
You're our Brownlow expert, Brownie. Is there a chance this Brownlow could be over by now?
I think it's over now. Barring injury, I think this Brownlow's over.
Pretty flat night, isn't it?
It is, and I think he got 3 votes again. Josh Dacos, his brother, he handballs it to him more than any other player in the competition. Darcy Moore, Jordan De Goey, Taylor Adams could have quite easily been in there as well, but the Pies on their way to a premiership. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. The Cats did a number on the Bombers at the Cattery last night. It was brutal in the first quarter, ended up a 77-point win. Max Holmes had 33, Heppel 25, Parrish. Wasn't a lot of numbers for the Bombers, but that man at the top there with 33 disposals was outstanding, and he joins us on the Sunday Footy Show. Max, welcome. It's been a bit of an indifferent year for the Cats, but you're starting to motor home at the right time.
Yeah, it's starting to click together, and I think as the season's progressed, we've gotten better as a team, and when we're going well, we really complement each other, I think. So it's been good to show some good footy late in the season, and hopefully with 6 or so games left, we can have a strong run to finals.
Hey Max, how much is the focus on what you do versus stopping the opposition's strengths under Chris Scott at Geelong?
Yeah, well, we kind of know that when we play our best, it's going to be really hard to stop. So we don't try and worry too much about the opposition. Obviously, you have to worry about some stars on each team, but we're mostly concerned with our own game and playing as well as we can, because we know it's hard to beat.
And Maxie, a lot of people talk about your forward line and how dangerous that is with some key players down there and a dangerous small forward line, but it's probably been your defence, getting your back six back together, which is why the improvement's starting to really show and you can be a contender again.
Yeah, we got a ripper back line, and it really shows when they're firing. We really bounce off the half back, and we score lots of goals that way. So I think with the likes of Stewie and Zach Guthrie, we've been really good at bouncing off the half back and into the forward line.
Your forward line looks so balanced. Hawkins absolutely back to his best. Cameron will build. Gary Rowan does his thing. Ollie Henry's getting opportunities. But your smalls, including Brian Myers, who the coach after the game lauded his work rate. So we see all this. We see the decision making, the assists. But take us through the work rate and the stuff he does off the ball, Max.
Yeah, well, Ryan's an incredible runner. I think it's hard to tell on the field, because when you do a running session with him, he'll absolutely burn you. So he's an incredible runner off the ball, and he's very smart, as we can see. He does so much work in the club to just further his game, and he's a great example of how to hold yourself and be professional.
Max, you've got an amazingly impactful older brigade of players at Geelong who have been so crucial to the successes you've had. But you're part of the young crew coming through, obviously Tanner Bruin and Jack Byers and others amongst it. Do you feel as though it's your club as much as theirs, the way this season has unfolded?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the older boys do remind us of that. So they really try to ensure that we feel comfortable, and we feel comfortable to speak up and tell everyone how we feel, which I think is a really good kind of mantra that they've built. So, yeah, as the years go on, a few of those boys will go, and I think we got a good brigade, as you said, that can hold the ship.
And Maxie, you're one of the key players for the Cats, and unfortunately last year for the grand final you failed the fitness test. You come very close, you're one of their most important players. And how did you feel after the game, and is that missing out on that premiership, obviously a mix of happiness but also probably a little bit of jealousy, is that inspiring you to have a season and try and get back to that stage and try and get a medal yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I passed the fitness test, but yeah, this year I've really been drawn to getting to where the boys got to last year, of course, and it's been a big driving factor. And yeah, when we're losing games early on, it hurt, but I think we're hitting our straps now, so we'll be a threat going forward, I think.
Well, they should have picked you, mate, because you were in unbelievable form. They just didn't want to take the risk, obviously.
And when you're a good young player, I mean, speculation about your future starts to bob up. There's been some stories about some clubs trying to get you out of the Cats. I think you're contracted until the end of 2024. But just for the Geelong fans, you'd be pretty happy where you are?
Yeah, well, I don't really get it. I'm contracted until next year, so I don't really understand where the talk's coming from. But, I'm all right.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, career high 33 disposals he had yesterday. Stevie, how'd your votes look?
We'll have a look at the graphic here, Kane. So they had Tom Hawkins down, pretty even performance. I mean, they dominated the game. Tom Hawkins kicked 5. Maxie Holmes, the 33 disposals and 9 score involvements. Mark Blitzarves, he had 26 and kicked a couple. And Brian Myers, he just keeps doing what he's doing, kicking goals, getting possessions up the ground, and then hitting the scoreboard himself yesterday as well. So.
It is the best prize pack in the business. So not only did you have a career best game yesterday, you walk away with this. We'll start with the J-Lab headphones, a pair of the Epic Air Sport ANC headphones. Plenty of playtime involved there. The Odyssey White Hot versus putter valued at $450. The Clutch & Co. for your golf apparel head-to-toe package from Clutch & Co. The Callaway, golf lovers, there's more. You also score a Callaway Tour cap. 4 Travis Matthews caps to keep the whole playing group happy. The OGO bag, $150 gift voucher from them. Check out the range, auogo.com. Bar Fridges Australia, custom designed bar fridge thanks to Bar Fridges Australia. Keep your drinks cool with your name on it. The Aquila shoes, magnificent, premium quality since 1958. And the Fizz Functional sparkling water, zero sugar, barely a calorie in sight. Glow is relaxation in a can. GetFizzy.co. The Rix eyewear that inspires confidence. Head to rixeyewear.com.au and head to platform 28 for a meal there, our favourite pub right here in Docklands.
Maxie, and we've also banned Billy from coming out of the club and interviewing players like yourself after last year as well.
That's all right. Cheers, guys. Yeah, thanks for that.
Hey, Maxie, best of luck for the rest of the season in your push for a premiership as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. The Gold Coast Suns had a massive week. They lost their coach, Stephen King, takes over. Up against the Saints, who are in danger of dropping out of the 8, but the Gold Coast Suns were harder for longer.
It's probably unsurprising with that response. That happens often when you do have a big week and the coach leaves and a new one comes in and it freshens up the group. But it was a start for me. I mean, the Saints couldn't score, and I just thought Gold Coast worked around the stoppage and their work rate. They outworked and they out-hunted the Saints. We've already shown those numbers in the contest where they dominated, but they kept the Saints scoreless in the first quarter, and that was about the difference for the entirety of the game, was that 3-goal margin that was the first quarter. Lukosius kicked 4 goals, so he's kicked 31 for the year. He's kicked a couple of bags of 5, and he kicked 4 yesterday. So, I mean, all in all, that's a pretty solid season for a third tall. Like, he's not the main tall and shouldn't be, but he's a good finisher. The big story is Flanders as well, 33 touches that he had. A lot of hype about him throughout the pre-season, and he's really starting to put that together. So he got the 8 votes. Just Will Power's a star across half-back. He had 26, 5 intercept marks. Anderson does what he does, and Lukosius kicked a bag of 4.
Worried about the Saints? Sorry, just before we go.
Yeah, I am worried about this. With their scoring, Damo. I mean, they just can't score.
So there's about 8 clubs at the moment from 6th to 14th vying for the 7th and 8th spot. These are part of that. The Giants, they came and raided Adelaide.
And that's why the Saints are a worry, because the Giants have won 5 in a row. So the Saints are out of form and the Giants are in form. So they kicked the first goal, the Crows, and then the better side till half-time. It was 6 goals 5 to 3 goals 6, but after half-time it was 7 goals to 3. So they looked their dangerous selves, and once the Giants settled, their back half, which we touched on, they can just repel and repel and repel, and they just don't allow you to score. But then they've got an amazing ability then to get players out the back. You know, Jesse Hogan and Riccardi and these types can get you, and Toby Green had his moments of brilliance, and their midfield goes deep, and they had them broken. The last quarter, the ball just lived in the forward half of the Giants, and it's a tough, gritty win, and they are a good side.
A bit of character about them, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like their losses haven't been big losses; they've been small margins, and I mean, there's genuine character about them. They had a great win against Adelaide in round 1, and that was significant.
And why we call Toby Green the most important player to his team in the competition is because he is a match winner and he performs every time they have a win this season. You have a look at the stats that he puts up. And
every week.
Again, in this game of footy, he was able to finish with 20 disposals and 3 goals, which was probably
Just an average game for him, isn't it?
It is an average game, but...
Yeah, the votes from yesterday. We'll take a look at them now. Jordan Dawson, he's just heroic for the Adelaide Crows. Sam Taylor in defence. Kelly and Whitfield in his 200th game. And I didn't put the coach in. Obviously, you don't put coaches in the votes. But what a turnaround for Kingsley to be that guy in the box for the first part of the year.
Didn't he?
Angry, to now being down there with the players. And even when they won the game, he didn't react. So he's come a long way in a short period of time.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. Let's head back to Friday night at the MCG. The Demons and also the Brisbane Lions vying for a spot in the top 4, potentially even in the top 2. Both sides scored over 100 points, and it was the Max Gawn show.
It was the Max Gawn show and also the Christian Petrarca show. Kicked 4 goals. Stevie's going to talk about him shortly, but the disappointing thing for Brisbane is they were all over Melbourne, and I think Melbourne would have been a story. You know, I haven't been confident on Melbourne at all, and probably halfway through the last quarter, I'm thinking I've just seen another example of why they can't win this premiership yet. They were probably due to their bold play and also Brisbane trying to save the game. They got back in it and their stars stood up. Jake Melsham was huge late, along with Gawn and
Viney's goal.
And
But it
Viney
just came from nowhere, Lordo, because they had zero run through the midfield. They couldn't get in there to half of the ground, and then all of a sudden they flick a switch and they do this.
I know, and I thought, how good are Brisbane, and they look tougher this year, and they should give themselves confidence that they can do it, and then they go and fold like this in the last period due to Melbourne's grit and determination. That's think Melbourne they are a tough side, Melbourne. They just lack class and cohesion at times. So not much between those two sides at all.
Stevie, take us through Christian Petrarca's form of the past 2 weeks in isolation to the rest of the year. 4 goals last week, 4 goals this week. Match-winning performances in matches that his team just had to win in order to keep this doubles chance alive.
Yeah, well, we know that he's probably their most dangerous midfielder, with Oliver being out. But where they've had their troubles in the first part of this season was the ability to score when they went ahead of the ball. And last week against St Kilda, he kicks the 4 goals, and the argument is around, or the conversation is around, do they keep him as a midfielder or play him as a permanent forward? On this particular night, they play him 75% forward, and he, again, was the match winner on the night.
Has he got the forward now, the one that you honed for 15 years?
Well, I think he's got the speed and power to get onto the loose balls, to be dangerous around the forward stoppages. Where he has sort of failed at times is his goal kicking has been a little bit off, but he'll grow with a lot of confidence from the last 2 weeks.
Goals the other night showed forward nous. Now, his goal kicking has been an issue, but you think of a lot of them have been long shots. Those snaps, 15, 20 metres out, he's taking them for a lot closer when he actually plays in the forward half of the ground.
And the opposition are paranoid about him at forward stoppage. You mentioned he got a free kick for a hold. He's really good at playing that up. He's always on the move. He's a nightmare matchup, as was Joe Danaher on the night. I'd love for Joe just to put one together where he kicks 6 or 7. This could have been the night. He could have been the match where he ended up kicking 2, 3. He was everywhere, like covering the ground, a real threat aerially, 24 touches for a key forward. He's always been good at that, and his marking ability was just so strong.
They had to go with him, which emptied out the forward line. So 19 intercept marks the Demons take. May and Lever only took 3 between them on the night.
And he looked as though he was going to be the match winner, but faded out in the last quarter.
Do they take glass half full out of that, in that they did enough to beat a really good team at a venue they don't win at historically, or do they look at it and go, we blew it again?
I think they'd look at it and go, some of the contest stuff that we've shown just wasn't good enough, and they let themselves down in that, and that's what will hurt you in finals. I just can't trust Brisbane in those big, high, intense games like that, unfortunately, and the record they can't escape from.
And the votes from the Friday night football, Gawn and Petrarca were the dominant players. I've given them both 9s. The man Kane just spoke about gets an 8, and Brayshaw was everywhere also on Friday night.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. Sydney kept their faint finals hopes alive, but a big dent in the Western Bulldogs' aspirations. And Tommy Papley kicked 4, he was outstanding. Norton was good again, and Bontempelli, he was absolutely breathtaking.
That's right, Nath. They were too good in John Longmire's 300th game. As we talked about, Tim English was dominant in the ruck in the start of this game, right through to the end. He ended up with 60 hit-outs on the night, but the game ebbed and flowed right throughout the game. And, it came right down to the wire, Kano.
Yeah, it did. And once again, Sydney were beaten up around the stoppages, and that started in the first quarter. They opted to leave Hickey out and go with no ruck. So McLean actually was admirable, but he was no match for Tim English, who was everywhere. The Bulldogs had a couple of injury issues. Darcy came back in, but was subbed out with a corky. O'Donnell was also injured as well, and so they went 2 down. But Sydney's ability to get their small forwards up to the contest, surge the ball forward in slippery conditions, was the difference in the game, I thought.
Tom Papley was outstanding, Stevie.
Yeah, kicked 4 goals, and he kicked the game winner right at the end of the game once again. So he just shows that, similar to Toby Green at the Giants, Tom Papley, he's the guy that gives the energy. We love his celebrations. He's outstanding, but just the skill level. Like he's if he's not kicking goals himself in big moments and getting his team going, he's setting them up. He's just a smart footballer with elite skill level, and it was outstanding to see his game on the weekend.
Some pretty good kicks in the AFL, Kane. Errol Goulden, where does he rate?
Brownie, right up there. So the Dacos boys are in there. Dan Houston's a nice ball user, but this guy's as good as any of them. And what he's doing, so a lot of the season he's played across the wing, and he's done that role extremely well. He's a hard worker, but he went inside on this night because there was a domination from the Bulldogs.
Look at this kick.
That kick there is unbelievable, really. So for a young man, Love the way that he carries himself. I think he's a future captain at the Swans. I think his time will come in that space because of how good a leader he is, and his ball use is elite. And you'd think the opposition would start putting some more time into him.
Bontempelli's not getting enough support, unfortunately, at the Western Bulldogs. He had 11 score involvements, 31 disposals, 2 goals, 6 clearances. And at the end of the game, he just smashed the turf with his fist.
Through his mouth guard.
Yeah, through his mouth guard. He was so frustrated at the fact that they'd blown another game they should have won.
Is there a player with better timing than Marcus Bontempelli?
It's hard to think there would be, Brown, isn't it? He's nearly had as good a year as 2021 when he fell 3 votes short of a high Brownlow count when Ellie Wines got him 36 to 33. But he couldn't do any more, could he, with what he's doing this year?
Who'd you give the votes to?
I'll have a look at the votes here, Nath. So bring up the graphic. I've got Tim English, as I said, 60 hit-outs, 10 clearances, 10 score involvements. Bontempelli, equally the best player on the ground with English, 31 possessions and 2 goals. And then Tom Papley, the game winner, kicked 4, and Goulden did what he did with his 11 inside 50s, often hitting the target and setting up scoring opportunities for the Swans.
Here is the Lou Richards medal leaderboard. Nick Dacos currently has 1 foot inside the Lexus of Blackburn, the beautiful machine Petrarca. Butters has dropped off a little bit. Dawson voted again. Merritt didn't vote, and Marcus Bontempelli did get votes, as you saw. But they're playing for the Lexus RX 350H Luxury. Thanks to Lexus of Blackburn, a leader, not a follower. They're dynamic, unique, divine convention, just like the player that gets to drive at home. Thanks to Lexus of Blackburn, the all-new Lexus RX 350H Luxury is like nothing else. Your test drive is waiting at Lexus of Blackburn today. The biggest prize in football, a $100,000 machine, thanks to Lexus. And at the moment, Nick Dacos, as I said, he has got 1 foot in there.